Squad up, haters down, haters down. If you ain't about that life, don't come around, don't come around. Got the crowd, gone wild. Tell me what you know about that Mem style.
Yo, y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what time it is, man. It's the Memphis Jelks Show. Instagram, what it do? Y'all tripping on the go live. Okay, I see you. So, we'll get back to y'all. We'll get back to y'all over there on Instagram, man. But to everybody else, man, how y'all doing out there? It is so good to be back. Man, last week, man, shout out to the producer that we had on here last week, man. He showed nothing but love. Flash finger flame. Salute to you, my homie, man. And I know that keyboard that you just got is off the chain. We got to get you back on here, Flash, man, so we can like dive into like some real production talk. You know, we were introducing your story and stuff and where you were from and all that stuff at that point. But we got to get you back in here, man, to just make some beats and talk about these beats. The phone lines are open as usual, 901-410-0123. So, you know, we're not selfish over here. We allow y'all to call in and give y'all thoughts, opinions, and views. Y'all can call in and talk to our guests and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Listen in, get some of these gems, you know what I'm saying? From some of these awesome people that we be having on the show. But before we get started, you already know I got
drums, please.
Oh,
What's up, man?
yo,
What's going on?
I am coolin', man. How are you doing?
Man, listen, another day, another dollar, man.
You made $1. I only made 50 cents.
Hey, you in the wrong business, brother. You only made 50 cents.
I'm in the
We up to
wrong
$1 now.
business.
We up to $1 now, man.
That's only in the Shy. That ain't in Memphis. Only
man.
in the Shy, man. Speaking of the Shy, man, how's it been going in the Shy, bro?
Man, you know, life been going good, man. We still trying to warm up, man. We hit the 80s for like 2 days, and we were back down in the 60s and 70s. So, you know, we just waiting on summer to come up here, man. But it's been going good. I ain't got no complaints, man. A little smoke from Canada is in the atmosphere right now, so it's a little gloomy outside, but life is good other than that.
What they doing up in Canada, man? They done legalized the smoke or something? What's going on up there? They legalized
wildfires in Canada.
Oh, okay, wildfires.
Yeah.
So they did legalize it. Hey, that's cool with me. Hey, to each his own.
Yeah.
Yo, Tennessee been pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? You know, the temperature's been like, I think like God is playing like a trick on people who got swimming pools, because in the week, during the week, he got it real pretty.
Nice
Sun
out there.
out, it's nice, it's hot. But for the last 3 weekends, we got storms on the weekend.
Dang. That's tough. Well, you know, at least we at the end of the rainy season, though.
Oh, yeah. I hope so. Because the rain has been waiting till the weekend to do it.
To show up, huh?
You get off work, you tired, you don't feel like swimming. You like, man, I'm gonna wait till the weekend.
Hey, maybe you need to start taking the swim during the week, man. You get a little bit of that action.
Man, hey, I can't even say that. I can't even say anything, you know what I'm saying? But I just know that like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday it's gonna be raining here again.
That's tough.
And this is like the 3rd weekend in a row. And I got homies who got pools in the back of their crib, and I be like, man, y'all open up the pool yet? You know what I'm saying? Have anybody start swimming yet? They like, man, it just won't stop raining on the weekend. Goodness, but I'm still wondering what's going on with Instagram. Hold on one second, y'all. I really do want to, want us to go live and get Instagram popping with us too tonight. Let's see. I know I did the right thing. It gonna take me but a second. Let's do the edit
Technical difficulties, huh?
with Instagram, man, because you know what I'm saying. For some reason, they got it to where, like when you do Instagram, you got to actually hit the button live. You actually got to hit the button and let them know that you're live. And I'm just like, dude,
hey.
Why the extra step? Everything else, just locks right in.
Yeah.
So let me do this. Boom, get the public. Bam,
Man, NBA Finals start tomorrow. Who you got, man? OKC or Indiana Pacers?
I got to go with the Pacers, man, because
You
I've always been a huge Reggie Miller fan. Growing up, Reggie Miller was my favorite basketball player, outside of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta go with the Pacers just for that simple fact alone. I want to see Reggie, I want Reggie to, see a championship, even though he didn't get a chance to get a championship, when he was playing for them.
Yeah.
It would still be a blessing and a good look.
Yeah.
To see my boy Reggie talk smack on ESPN.
Well, I think it's gonna be an interesting series. I don't know if it's gonna be one of the most highly watched series just because, two a small market mid-tier teams, basically two small market teams. So, I don't know how many people gonna be watching, but I think, OKC has looked the best all year. They've looked the best throughout the playoffs. But Pacers hot, man. I got to give it to them. They hot. But it's gonna be a challenge, man. It's gonna be good to see two young teams go at it to see who's gonna win the championship. But
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
OKC, I gotta shout out my homeboy JB. He a rapper from the OKC area, you know what I'm saying? And that's his team. Salute to him. He's connected to the Spit Slam record label group.
Shout out to Spit Slam.
Shout out to Spit Slam, man. Chuck D. What a blessing. I feel like Chuck D, when he goes around the world and then he's met like a select group of like elite artists. And he put us all together under this label called the Spit Slam record label group. And he couldn't have chose any better artist. Like all of us are cold. Like we get together and we be like, dude, we like X-Men or some shit. Like everybody got a superpower and shit. And speaking of superpowers, man, like, you know what I'm saying? And speaking of the Spit Slam label group and Chuck D,
yeah,
we got one of the dopest artists that's on our label hanging out with us tonight. And he has a new album out called Forward to the Future. He's hailing out of Virginia, Northern Virginia. Northern Virginia, stand up.
Shout out to the DMV.
Stand up. I bring to y'all the one, the only.
Drums, please.
Dumi Right is in the building.
Welcome to the mr.jelks show.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you
So
for
happy
joining.
Share this platform and be on this platform. It's an honor, a privilege, and I'm excited. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, man. Thank you for joining.
Happy to have you, man.
I know that you're like a super busy person, just being on the same label. I see you doing shows all over the place. You international, worldwide. You know what I'm saying? You got the new album out, Forward to the Future. It's off the hook. I've been listening to it all day.
Appreciate that.
Congratulations on the new album release. And we just want to say thank you, man, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us, bro. Thank you.
Word up. Appreciate it.
That's what's up, man. So people in Memphis want to know, man, like in your own words, you know what I'm saying? Who is Dumi Right?
All right. So do me right. I am a hip hop educator. I'm a cultural ambassador. I'm a performance artist. Just doing, progressive, lyrical, intricate, wordplay, dexterity, sharing information, sharing messages, communicating through the love of the music. And I'll go through each one of those. So why do I say hip hop educator? Because informally, for mad long, I've been teaching, and sharing, my knowledge and things that I know and background and experience with folks through workshops, through after school programs and different stuff like that. And then now formally, I'm an adjunct professor at George Washington University, leading and teaching a hip hop ensemble class every semester. Cultural ambassador, because I came out of, residing in Northern VA right now, the DMV, but I came out of Zimbabwe, and that's the origin story. I like to say not supervillain origin story, superhero origin story, coming out of Zimbabwe, in the 80s, growing up on the hip hop that I learned to appreciate and love, and then started to do myself. And so coming out of that international hip hop realm and sphere, have kept connected with that and collaborating with artists from all over the world, all over the globe, from all over, not just the continent, but even places like France and Australia and Brazil, you name it, lots of different places. And then performance artists, because that's kind of the craft and the art that I do. I perform, I rhyme, I record, I create music, I perform music and just do all of that. So that's kind of who I am in a nutshell. Dumi. My full name is Dumi Sani. So if you didn't know, now you know. And that's a name from Zimbabwe, and Ndebele word, which means praise, actually. So get an amen from the congregation, because Dumi Sani means praise, as in Dumi Sani and Kosi, praise the Lord. So anyway, Dumi Sani is abbreviated to Dumi. So early on, I was trying to figure out what my rap name was going to be, and I came across the phrase or whatever, do me right. And I was like, oh, that's the name right there. And it stuck. So that's who I am and who I be.
Dope, man. So why hip hop? Like there's several genres out there and stuff. You could have chose to be a rock star. You could have chose to, be a country artist. Why did you choose hip hop?
I don't know if I chose hip hop as much as hip hop chose me. And I say that because I was always around music growing up, in the house, African household. We always have music playing. You have the Hugh Masekela, Miriam Makeba, and then even like pop music, from Michael Jackson we'd listen to. My older brother was a DJ, so he was really into the music, so we heard all the Gap Band, Loose Ends, like you name it, like a lot of music around. And I always loved the music, loved to dance or whatever, and that was just kind of something that would always be kind of playing and we'd be around. But when I heard hip hop, I say it in a lyric, it was like when I heard hip hop, I knew exactly what I wanted, because it really felt like there was a connection with me. Like I could relate, like it felt like a part of me, or like I could be a part of it. Like it wasn't like I was watching from afar. It was like something I could get involved with and do. And I think the fact that I was growing as hip hop was growing, we kind of felt like it was like a kindred spirit, and a way for me to express ideas, thoughts, feelings, points of view, and all of that. And I remember early songs. There's obviously a bunch of different songs that influenced me coming up, but I remember listening to The Message, because when that popped off, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and Millie Mel, I was in Zimbabwe, in Africa, and hearing The Message, and it was like watching like in 4K, you know what I mean? Like through a window outside what was going on, miles and miles across the ocean in a different country, because there was such a vivid description of life and struggles. And I know a lot of raps at the time were glamorous and, yo, I got this, so I'm doing this and all of that. And there's obviously conscious raps too, but that was like kind of the realization that, yo, you can tell like a crazy dope story through the music, and you can share a point of view and an opinion. Then obviously, the other greats came along, and from KRS-One to, like we said, Spit Slam, Chuck D, to you name it, like all the different conscious artists, and even folks like Rakim dropping jewels. And that was like, it just really manifested as like something that I really wanted to be a part of. And I also started out as a b-boy. Like I was breaking, we were in breakdance crews, breaking crews, b-boy crews, and we'd have battles and do different stuff. And just through the music, once again, it kind of brought us into it. And I remember that discovery process where somebody would bring over a cassette and be like, yo, who's this? Mantronics, what's that? And he'd play it. And the first time I remember sitting around the house or somebody else's house, and they had gotten De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising, and we were all just sitting there listening from, side A to side B, because it was on cassette. So it just really felt like it grabbed me. That's why I said hip hop chose me. Like it just felt like it grabbed me and like, come on, we gotta go. Let's do this.
At what age did you hear The Message? And
Man, I can't.
And this is a two-sided question. At what age did you hear The Message? And by me listening to your album earlier, it feels like you're taking that route, as far as like, like it's important to you to have messages in your music, because your music is so dope, and it has like messages in it as well. But what age were you when you heard The Message? And is that something important that you still find that's still important to do in the music?
Yeah, I'm trying to think like when it came out. So I'm going to say, what are we, in the mid 80s? So I'm like 10, 11 or something like that, somewhere in that age range, roughly. And it was like super informative, I think, you know what I mean? And it kind of showed me something that I didn't know. And I think that was kind of the eye-opening thing, you know what I mean? Because if somebody's rapping or singing and they're just general, no real point, to it, which is cool. It can be, you don't need to have a message or a point in every song. It's just there, right? If Whitney Houston says, I want to dance with somebody, it's a great song, great to listen to. But there's not like information in it that you can like decode later and go back and be like, oh, okay, that, whereas if you listen to like It Takes a Nation of Millions, it's like,
exactly,
things that were out in the open, things that were subliminal, things that were like, you got to go dig and research. And I remember like vividly reading, because, here's somebody growing up in high school, in elementary school, middle school, whatever you call it. We call it primary and secondary school in Zimbabwe, Africa. So we learned world history, we learned African history. I didn't know a lot about the civil rights movement beyond like Dr. King, and that kind of stuff, because there's obviously history and a curriculum that's relevant to the country you're living in. But listening to PE and hearing about Malcolm X, it's like, word, hold up. I need to, investigate and see what this is all about. It's intriguing. And then reading the autobiography of Malcolm X as a direct result of listening to Public Enemy. It's like, man, it's more to the music than the music. Like Dead Prez said, it's bigger than hip hop. It's not just hey, here's a song with no real purpose and you have fun listening to it, which is great. And you need stuff like that to just kind of take your mind off something. But now what about if you have a song that actually puts you onto something, puts you onto investigation and research, and just finding out new ideas and concepts, and hearing what Malcolm X had to say about, the African American problem is like the African problem, because we're all struggling for equality, and self-determination, and being like, wow, and all that coming out as a result of listening to a song. And so that stuck with me. And since that was in my formative years, as far as starting to even think about doing music, it's just been something that stuck with me. And I feel like I don't think I'm making this up. I think this is a real thing. I heard Chuck D say about Yo Bum Rush the show, like, yo, you can't just beat people over the head with a message and a message and a message. You got to kind of draw them in. And that's why, like, the first album was more just like, coded, you know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily overt. So you just rock into a song, a Public Enemy, and I don't rob banks, I don't shoot bullets, and I don't shoot blanks. And I think that kind of, was formative for me. And then, listening to different artists like De La, and, who would say something like it's just a ghetto thing, but then they have a song like I Know, and that kind of having a variety in your approach, not just doing the same thing. You don't just keep making the same song 12 times on a record and then make a new album with those same songs with different beats. And so, yeah, that's always just been a part of kind of what I do. One of my favorite quotes, Far Side, gotta say something that means something, gotta kick something that means something, something that means something, something that means something. So yeah, super important for me to do that.
Speaking of the Far Side, that was the first tape that I ever bought in my life.
Oh, word.
Was the Far Side, man. I love that.
Bizarre Ride to the Far Side.
Bizarre Ride, yeah. Oh my God. To this day, that's still like the most phenomenal tape that I've ever heard. Like, but what I did was I accidentally bought it. At the time, this is how young I was. I bought the Far Side album from Walmart. So it was the clean version. So they bleeped out all the cuss words.
That's what you wanted to hear, huh?
Oh,
that's funny.
But I loved it still, with or without curse words in it. The message was still there, and the beats and the sound. And I was just like, man, in the sea, that is. There's other fish
in the sea, that is. Yeah.
There's other fish in the sea, that is. That's what people need to know. Like, when people go through like breakups and then they get all, mad and want to do something to the person. No, man, just listen to the Far Side, man. There's other fish in the sea. Man.
Yeah. Find your level,
Yeah.
Find your connection.
Yeah, exactly, man. And then She Keeps On Passing Me By is just a classic. That's gonna go down in like one of the American, those songs that they retire, like in the American Congress Library.
Yeah, Library of Congress for sure, for real.
She Keep On Passing Me By it's gonna be on that list. I think they have there's songs that's in that list. Fight the Power might even be on that list.
Oh, I'm sure. If it isn't, it need to be.
Yep. So I'm glad that you're an artist and you're standing up for, standing on something, because I hear a lot of the newer music, and I'm not taking a shot at any of the newer music or anything. You know what I'm saying? I understand business and selling records. You have like two different types of art. You got art that's for sale, that you're trying to, be on the Billboard charts with, and you're trying to play the game with. And then you have art that's really art, that's really from the heart. That it don't matter if you sell 2 records. If the 2 people who bought it changed their lives, you're satisfied. You know what I'm saying? The sales don't even matter at that point. And I try to do both. I try to dabble in both a little bit. I want to make a song, of course, try to see if I can get, how far I can get in the quote unquote industry, but at the same time, I get a lot of satisfaction off making records that I'm really like trying to make an impact and give somebody some game or some knowledge that can help them in their everyday lives.
Yeah, and I think the biggest trick that's been played on the music in the music industry is the idea that those two realms are mutually exclusive. Like you can't say something and be commercially successful, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's a successful trick. You know, the industry is tricky like that. But it's been, you know, countless artists that are saying something that are making noise too. But they kind of make it like, nah, you know, people don't want to hear that. And the biggest revelation to me is like people always tell me, yo, you got to make joints. You know, the young kids coming up, they want to hear songs like this, or they want to hear songs like that. I don't ever play that game because it's you know, you can't step out of who you are to try to
Yeah.
be something that you're not. Like I
Yeah.
think it's okay to stay relevant. You know what I mean? You don't want to be kicking the same style. Maybe that was like 30 years ago if things are changing, but you still be true to yourself. You know what I mean? And if that style, you know, and that unique voice or the cadence that you use is what it is, then you stick with it. But people think like, oh yeah, the young kids, they ain't checking for this, or they ain't checking, or this is what they're into, which is true to some extent as far as like trends. But there's a lot of, you know, creative, curious young heads too. So when I was doing workshops, I was in a school doing workshop with sixth graders. And so you think they probably just listen to whatever's on the radio or whatever. And they may or may not appreciate, you might think they may not appreciate like dropping knowledge or like saying something, but like I was like freestyling or kicking rhymes, you know, as we're doing the workshop to be like, yo, this is kind of something that I've done. And they were like, oh, that's, oh, yo, the bars. And one cat was like, yo, can you do a feature on my project or whatever? And I mean, these are sixth graders. And then we did an assembly and I had that whole place bouncing, you know what I mean? While still dropping knowledge, you know what I mean? And it's because you've got songs, even if you're an artist that's, you know, saying a message, you still, if you're good, you know, deliver it like in a nice, you know, interesting, intricate way. You know, you had that call and response. And so I had that whole assembly bouncing. And as kids were coming out of the, you know, the auditorium, they're like, yo, those rhymes were so dope. Oh, that was sick. Oh, we had so much fun with that. And so I think it's an illusion to think that it's mutually exclusive. If I got a message, it's got to be boring. It's got to be serious. You know, I got to beat them over the head. Like if you do it right, you know what I mean? You can bring them along for the journey and show them something different too. Because a lot of times people only like one thing. You know, somebody might only like shrimp fried rice because that's all they know. They don't even know there's something else out there that they could expand their appetite, their horizons and perspectives. So that's what our job is, to like show them something different, you know, shine that light.
Yeah, and talking a little bit about style, can you share a little bit about what your style has evolved to now, you know, and trying to connect with, you know, maybe some of the newer listeners compared to, you know, the listener that you had before? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think the biggest thing for me is just like variety. You know what I mean? Like every song doesn't have to be just the same type 4-bar hook, you know, chorus type thing. That's why I connected with a bunch of vocalists on this or whatever, because I'm like, I had this idea, but if somebody could sing it or whatever, you know, and then sometimes soulful audiences might appreciate that and it gets drawn in because they're used to, you know, that kind of flavor, even just to the vibe of the music. Some stuff is like, you know, dusty, stripped down, kind of rugged, you know, that boom bap, head nod. And then some joints are like smoothed out, jazzy, you know, kind of like a Tribe Called Quest feel. But just having like great variety. Like I think a lot of times people are like, yo, you know, you need to get an album and it needs to have a consistent sound, which I think is true, but it has to have a variety of sound in it too. So you take the listener high, you take them low, you know, you got stuff that has emotion, you have stuff that's real personal. I think there's a lot of life experience injected into the music. So it's not just theoretical, me talking about, yo, this is what I want to see, or this is how things should be. You know, I'm like, yo, I've been down that road. I understand that. And find something, like they say, if you make a song, and you was just saying that, Memphis, like people got to connect with it. It might be one person, it might be 10, it might be 1,000, but they got to connect with something you said or relate to it And so that's what I always try to do, is be like, is this something that somebody else would care about, or is this just something that I'm the only one who thinks about it? And if I'm the only one who thinks about it, how can I explain it in a way where somebody's like, oh wow, I never looked at it that way, you know? And so just having like that variety, but also having like a distinctive persona of who I am. You know, I think the greatest thing about back, you know, to be like, yo, in the golden era and the classic age of hip hop, everybody was so distinct. You know what I mean? Like, in fact, you know, there's a whole beef with EPMD saying, you know, that we sound like the R. Like, you get mad. Somebody's like, yo, you sound like somebody else. Whereas now a lot of cats think, oh, if I'm going to come out and be like, let me sound like this cat, or let me make beats like this cat sounds. Whereas back in the day, it was like, yo, you hear my voice, you know it's me. You know, when you heard MC Light, you didn't think, oh, is this MC Light, or is this so-and-so or so-and-so? It's just like, it was her. You heard Latifah, you heard KRS, you know, you knew, you heard De La, you knew, and even the native tongues, each one had their own vibe and style, and then they came together collectively. Whereas now it's like, oh, you'll hear a crew and there'll be 4 cats on the record, and I'll be like, who's rapping right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if that's your thing, again, like I said, if that's your thing, do your thing. But for me, it's just, I gotta be distinct. I gotta stand out always.
Yeah, I like a lot of what you said. I think it's good to stay true to yourself and you know, kind of be the artist that you are, but be able to adapt to how the industry, how the trend, or however the atmosphere is in culture right now. Because I think that's important, to be able to adapt to the culture that's
For sure.
actively present, because that's what people can relate to and that's what's relatable. But in that, can you talk a little bit about the process for making this album? I'm always interested and intrigued by the process of making albums, selecting songs for albums, you know, the time that you took to put into it. You know, some people, they go in a weekend and can boom come out with 12 tracks. You know what I'm saying? They're ready to drop. But I am curious to hear a little bit about your process for putting this album together, and kind of how you got there, and how you kind of connected with some of the producers you might have worked with, some of the singers you work with, you know, the people, if you knew them or didn't know them. Can you share a little bit of insight about how that was putting this album together?
Yeah, great question. It's definitely not a weekend. Like, it was a long process, like over like a long period of time, and it evolved as we kind of went. But I'm the type of person, like, if I'm gonna make a song, a lot of times it's real good if I have a beat to inspire the song. I mean, I have written stuff where I've just written it, and then I need a beat that goes, I can, you know, put that to whatever. But a lot of times I have a beat and I'll just be vibing to the beat, listening to the beat, and kind of hearing kind of what emotion does it evoke? What do I feel like saying over it? What kind of theme do I want to come with? And so that's like a song like This Is My Calling, and I'll give this as an interesting example. I was writing the hook, foot on the gas, no stalling. This is my calling. This is my calling. And I was just thinking about it and writing it. And then I recorded it, you know, just a rough draft. One of the best things I've done is get up a setup in the crib where I can just throw down rough drafts. And I even have like an app on the phone where I can record rough drafts, you know, put the track, put the vocals, put some weird, you know, little simple effects on it, and kind of hear how it sounds. And that's helped my process too, because then as I create songs, I can kind of hear like, oh yeah, that's really working good, or oh, I should add this in. Sound engineer that I was working with, shout out to Odo Zen, been mixing tracks for me and engineering for like a super long time. Super dope cat, Berkeley School of Music educated, like, you know, certified engineer. Real good sound, and you know, he'd always be like, hey, how do you like this? But anyway, I was telling him I need somebody to do some vocals on a song. It was actually a different song. Now, This Is My Calling. And he was like, yo, I should connect you with Nathaniel Starr. I was like, oh, so I listened to some of Nathaniel stuff. I'm like, yo, you know, Money's real dope. Put us in touch. So we connected. We did a couple things, and I was like, yo, this cat is serious. So when it came time to do, I think we probably did We Don't Need prior to This Is My Calling, which is another joint on the album. And I was thinking of that. We don't need no more trouble. Shout out Bob Marley, another one of the griots, the legends, and the storytellers in music. But he just killed that joint straight, like up and down. Like he just blazed it. And so getting him on This Is My Calling was real cool. And then he turned those words I had, foot on the gas, no stalling, hoping you can hold me down, help me if I'm falling. So that's where it all started, from that chorus. And then I started to write the verses to build around that chorus of This Is My Calling. Like, why am I doing this? How did I, what are some of the feelings and things that I went through in my musical career, which is kind of what the song is about. Did that joint, dropped it as a single. And then for the Spit Slam album, for this full length or whatever, since I had dropped it as a single, I was like, if I just put the same version on the album, then anyone who heard it already. So connected with this cat around the way, Count Fifth, that makes dope beats. He's worked with everybody from Killer Priest to like yada. I could go on and on. And I was like, yo, I'm trying to cook up a remix for this joint. And the beat that he came with was just so sick. I was in my car when he sent me like the first draft. I was like, yo, he totally like, because the song has like a soulful hook, and he kind of captured that like 70s era soul vibe and feeling or whatever.
Yeah.
And that ended up being the song we opened up the record with, because it just was so appropriate. And of course, it's called This Is My Calling. So it's like a perfect way to start telling your story. So that's kind of illustrates like the process, like beats, writing, and then sometimes ended up for the album remixing joints. It's a whole bunch of joints with his alternate versions, because we're like, make another, we got another producer that's got some heat. Like, hey, why not? Like, it's a blessing to have two versions. One's on the album, one was a single, or we got a couple unreleased, remixes that we got on deck and stuff. So that's been real cool.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like the art of remixing, they don't even think about that sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
it used to be a time where every single that came out had a few versions to it with different beats and stuff.
Yeah,
Now,
that
that's
12-inch.
something to
Yeah,
consider.
that 12-inch with the, the radio, not even just the radio edit, but like, the Get Loose version, the jazzy version, the whatever, So I love doing that, because I also feel like it's a bonus. You know what I mean? I got the main joint, and then I got, let's see what somebody's gonna come to the table and put on this, now that they can kind of see the original, and then take it in a different direction, but still uphold that vibe and theme.
What
Nice.
how many albums do you what album number is this that you
Oh
that you
man,
just dropped?
I'm not.
How many more albums do you got? I'm gonna put it on the screen.
Third solo, but I don't know, like 6 or 7 albums, maybe 8. I lost count, because originally back in 1992, when we first dropped Zimbabwe Legit, self-titled debut EP, one of the first African hip hop groups to drop a record in the U.S. and gain international recognition. We did that joint on Hollywood Basic that featured production from DJ Shadow.
I'm sorry, do me. My bad. Some kind of way when I pulled up the screen, it pulled all of us down. So I want you to. I don't want that information to go lost. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna have to ask you that question again.
Okay.
What number album is this, and how many albums do you have out before you release this latest album, Forward to the Future? So we can start back from there, because I'm sorry. When I pulled up
The cover,
the cover, yep, it pulled all of us down. So we kind of came back in the middle of you letting us know that the answer to that question. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Hard to count. I believe this is the third solo record because I had Connect the Dot, Do Me Right, Connect the Dots. And then I had Do Me Right, Doing It the Right Way. And then this is Do Me Right, Forward to the Future. So I think it's the third, but just in terms of full discography and catalog, I probably have like, what do I want to say, like 8, 9 records. Because I also got some collaborative projects. Did a joint with, may he rest in peace, his brother, producer named Cadence. Project called Alternate Reality. He's Cadence from Raw Produce. And then the original group that I'm in, Zimbabwe Legit, we had a couple joints. So first dropped in 1992 on Hollywood Basic Records, label mates with Organized Confusion and the Lifers Group and Raw Fusion, which Money B and DJ Fuse from Digital Underground. So any of those are label mates, but that album, Zimbabwe Legit, self-titled debut LP, produced by people like Mr. Long from the Black Sheep and DJ Shadow, who you may have heard of. But that was our debut back in 92 as one of the first African hip hop groups to drop a record in the US and also to gain international recognition. And then we have an album called Zimbabwe Legit House of Stone. And then I also did a record with my cousin, who's also somebody who came up, my cousin Pep. Shout out to him. He was somebody I looked up to as I was coming up, a couple years older than me, and him and my brother used to run, when we were first starting out. But dropped an album called OUO of Unknown Origin. So yeah, I think I covered all the records, but it's a couple. It's more than a couple joints that we've gotten, we put out over the years. But this one, as far as like a solo project, like under the moniker, under the label of Do Me Right, I believe this is the third joint.
Man, you've worked with some of the greatest artists of all time. I mean, it's countless names, but to name a few, one of my favorite hip hop songs that I've ever enjoyed listening to is "Treat Me Right" by a guy
Treat 'em
named
right.
Chub Rock. Man, that's another song that's gonna get retired into the American Society of Congress.
As it should. Needs to be in the Library of Congress, man.
Yes,
Y'all heard it here first.
it
Memphis said it,
does.
so
Shout
let it
out
be.
to Chub Rock, man. You one of my favorite. That song, he one of my favorite artists. Period. I like his. He seems so approachable.
Yeah,
He
he's
seems
super
like
cool,
just
dude.
this super cool dude that you can approach, and he won't bite your head off. But anyway, like "Treat Me Right," man, is one of the greatest records of all time, hip hop records. How did you meet and collab with Chub Rock, man, of all people?
Yeah, nah, it's crazy because like one of my goals, I think, in as I was putting records out, I think it started with the Zimbabwe Legit House of Stone. So this is like 2014, maybe somewhere there. Um, One of the things that I wanted to do was I was like, yo, I love collaborating. For me, it just makes it so much more fun to do like a collaboration. I was always a big fan of the Posse cut. So it's like, oh, this is a Posse cut. Oh, yeah, this cat is featuring on this cat's album. Yo, but Nas is on the Mobb Deep record and all this stuff. It's always one of my favorite things to listen to and also do. And so the way I went about it was to say, like, why don't I try to collaborate with artists that I respect and admire, and if, either cross paths with over the years. Freshman year, Virginia Tech University, back in 1990, the song of the year, Chub Rock, Treat 'Em Right, like that joint blaring, Also just the two of us, Back to the Grill Again. What was the other joint? Through the Storm, joints and joints, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yo, it would be real dope to work with Chub Rock and do something. And so I got in touch with him and told him what I was trying to do. So this is Back to the House of Stone record. And I had this crazy beat, a song idea called Wake 'Em Up. And it was like, people, seen as like a bad dream. Brothers need to wake up. Got no time for the excuses that they make up. You know what it's about. They need to shape up, or ship out, or shape up. Time is running out. They need to wake up. So I got Chubb Rock, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I love the beat. I want to do it." And then another cat that I'd actually crossed paths with a lot, from Cannibal Ox, Vast Air. And the other thing that was fun to me was like, what if I put together a collaboration pairing that's never happened before, may never happen again? And so I told Vaster, yo, I'm gonna get Chubb Rock. And he was like, Chubb Rock's gonna be on the joint. Oh, I love it. And I sent him the beat. He's like, yo, the beat is fly. I really want to do it. And we just did that song, and it was like amazing. Like I was after the fact, I was like, yo, that really happened. It's like capturing lightning in a bottle. Like I got Chubb Rock, somebody I respected and admired. He was so cool about it and so like dope in what he produced and delivered. So definitely look up that Zimbabwe Legit House of Stone, a song called Wake 'Em Up. But anyway, it was so good. Capture lightning in a bottle. I was like, yo, I wonder if I can duplicate it. And so when I did the We Don't Need joint, I was like, yo, it would be dope if Chubb Rock came through. And it was funny because, his verse was just crazy. It's like, yo, I'm not going to get too political. And then he went in. You heard the song, He's like, Obama was here. Obama left. And you know who came for my sanity, Playboy. I won't say his name.
Yeah.
Ignorance, no shame. He brings pain. His methods, man, are so insane. I was like, oh man.
Oh man, he killed that verse, man. When he
Right.
said his methods, man, that's like Method Man.
Yeah.
And then like, oh man, I was listening to that on the way home. I was like, man, this is phenomenal, bro.
Yeah. And then so, me being me, third time is a charm, right? When I was doing this record, I was like, yo, I wonder if I could press my luck and get Chubb Rock one more again. You know what I mean? I don't know, his schedule's mad crazy. He's super cool cat. And he tours a lot and does his radio show out in Atlanta. So I was like, yo, if I could get him to bless this joint, because I had the song. Here's a funny story about the song called No Guarantees. And it's about, show people that you appreciate them while they're living. And in typical Dumi Right style, I had one version where I was spitting and the hook was, there's no guarantees. Tomorrow's not a given. Let people know that you appreciate them while they're living. And I was like, yo, I want to flip it up and mix it up. And so I hit up Chubb about doing it. And he was cool. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And then I lost contact with it and been out of touch. And I was continuing to record other songs and do everything. But I stayed persistent because I was like, yo, it would be real dope if this could happen. And I think I sent him an email and was just like, yo, checking in, understand you're mad busy. Want to see if we can lace this joint, if you think you can still do it. And my phone rang probably 2 minutes after that. He was like, yo, Dumi. Same way he says on the song on just like he says on We Don't Need. He's like, Dumi. I was like, oh, what's going on? Oh, good to hear from you. Thanks for reaching out. And he's like, yeah, remind me of the song, what we were doing. And I told him, and he's like, you sent me the beat, right? And I was like, yeah, I sent it. He was like, do me a favor, send it again. He's like, I know I have it from before, but I had to go search for it. If you send it to me right now, I'll knock this out for you. I was like, oh man, that's dope. So I'm thinking, 2-3 weeks. He hit me back, I think that night, and he was like, yo, this joint, I dropped the verse. I hope you like it. He's like, and if you don't mind, I did a chorus too, if you think you want to use it. So the chorus, life is what you make it. Some don't make it. He added that in. And I was like, oh. And he was like, if you want to use it. I'm like, oh man. Blessings upon blessings. Do I? And that made the song. That's just commanding. In life, there's no guarantees. Life is what you make it. Some don't make it. The world has its favorites. Giving flowers to the OGs. And then the way he just described the evolution of hip hop from the start, to where we are now was just so incredible. And so I went and wrote a different verse too, because I was like, I'm gonna align with. And then I hit up YZ, who I've known for like a long time and interacted and coordinated with, collaborated with. He was on the House of Stone album as well. Real cool cat. I remember I used to play his joints when I hosted a radio show in college, and then connected with him after that. So got him on the joint, and he heard like our parts, and he was like, "Oh, it's beautiful. I'm gonna wrap it up like this." So that was cool. And then, I had connected with Spit Slam at that point. So I was like, yo, if we gonna do this right, we need Chuck to close it out and put his, rubber stamp on this song. And then he did it like in a more incredible fashion than I could have even imagined, with his closing outro to the Life Is What You Make It joint. So, and the reason I told that whole roundabout, long-winded and windy story with a lot of interesting facets and twists and turns, I hope, was because every song, every creation was like a process, and none of it just started from like, oh, I just ran into him and we hopped in the studio for 5 minutes and he wrote some stuff in the lab. It's like it was all coordination and a lot of persistence too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I cats up and be like, yo, you down, and you look in, and explain the idea and the concept, and if they feel it, they come along, for the journey, and share their perspective and wisdom. So I'm just, Chub Rock, big up, salute, thank you. He's done, 3 dope joints. You know what I mean? I couldn't have thought when I was a freshman in college that, yo, I'm gonna do a joint with this cat that I'm dancing to in the club, rocking out to treat him right. Just the two of us. Crooklyn dodging.
How about Chuck D? How did you meet Chuck D and Spit Slam? And then how did you get involved in that in the label?
And I'm gonna say this too, like just as a matter of principle, like tell people your story, man. Like I was at a conference one time, and that's the keynote speaker said. He's like, tell people your story, tell them what you're trying to do, and they might just be able to help you or know somebody that can put you in touch with somebody that can help you. Yeah. So I've been off meeting Chuck D over the years since we dropped his Zimbabwe Legit at different places. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if we met at the Music Seminole here, there, and everywhere. I know we were at a show in Cali when we were on Hollywood Basic, and there was a Public Enemy show and this, that, and the other. But I remember we were at a Knitting Factory show, again, mad years ago, around the House of Stone album release days. And this was like the dopest show. Stetsasonic was headlining. Myself, YZ, Mike G, and my brother Kim, and may he rest in peace, Cadence, who formed this super group called the Great Minds. Chip Fu was in the house. Keith Murray was in the house. He wasn't even scheduled to perform, but he hopped on the stage. I was just like so many people in the building, and Chuck was at that show. And so we were all backstage and talking or whatever. And we're like, yo, Chuck. And I think we'd even been sending messages back and forth. And he's like, yeah, we've been like circulating around trying to connect or whatever, and send messages back and forth. And we're like, yo, Chuck, can we get a drop? Can we do it? And he was like, yo, Zimbabwe Legit. Like you all been doing you can't do your thing if your thing ain't the right thing. Super dope quote. And he was like, yo, let me know if, anything I can do. And then probably be some more years back and forth, run into him at a show, at a conference. Then I ran into him at the African American History Museum, National African American History Museum in DC. They were having a block party, hip hop block party. And I ran into him and he was like, yo, what's going on? And we chopped it up for a while. He was like, yo, let me know if there's anything I can do for you, whatever. Yeah, we just stay in touch. It's like, yeah, we should definitely keep like in close touch. And so when I was doing this record, I was like, yeah, that's a perfect opportunity. But as far as hooking up with Spit Slam, so Mike G from the Jungle Brothers, he was on a prior project that I did. And also, like I said, we had done like a super group with him and YZ and my brother Kim. And I was talking to him about, the record, letting him hear some early tracks. from the albums. I was working on it, and I was telling them, I was like, yo, it's crazy doing all this stuff, solo, or, kind of where you're the promoter, you're the marketing director, you're the publicist, you're the artist, you're the
That's me.
touring booking agent, you know what I mean?
That's me
For sure.
today.
I think that's a lot of us. And I was like, yo, I need to figure out like either distributor or label or something that makes sense as well. Like, don't want somebody that's going to come and be like, okay, we own all your property and we're going to take control, and yeah, we'll push it. And then if it doesn't push as far as they want, they're like, okay, talk to you later, but we still own it, type thing.
Yeah.
And so he was like, yo, Chuck has a label, Spit Slam. He's like, you should, holler at them. And then of course, C-Doc, Mr. President of Spit Slam Records, he was
Salute
like,
to C-Dot.
Yeah.
he was like, let me put you in touch with C-Doc. He's like, yeah, he's good folks, and talk to him about what you're trying to do and see if y'all can come to some kind of agreement. And so connected with C-Doc, talked about what I was trying to do, sent the music back and forth, figured out a game plan and approach what we wanted to do. He had some producers that he was like, yo, I can bring these producers to bear on the record to add some different flavor. If you're into it, if you're down, I'm like, yeah, for sure. Let's see what's good with it. And then it's just been rolling from there. And then, like I said, since I was on Spit Slam, once we had connected and, formulated a plan to do something, and partner together, I was like, yo, it's really only right now that Chuck hops on this joint. Life is what you make it. Cause that's kind of like summarizing kind of the whole hip hop experience for me. For lots of people too, you know what I mean? It's very relatable because it's kind of saying this is how it went down. These are the greats. This is who influenced us. And then YZ closes out with those we've lost, people that have passed. And so it's like super dope. But again, me talking to Mike G, staying connected, making connections, asking for, suggestions, recommendations. It just came together like that.
So you said to tell people your story. I want you to stress the importance and why you said that. Why is it important to tell people your story? Because for instance, I've been on the phone with like some really lucrative and successful people and stuff, and sometimes I'm like, was there something else that I could have said or something that may have made them get behind me more or anything like that? So tell me the importance of telling people your story.
Yeah, man. For me, it's ultra critical. Like it's maybe the most important thing you can do. People talk about having an elevator pitch. It took me a while to formulate kind of like, who am I and what do I do? So if you can't summarize it like in a couple sentences or a paragraph in the elevator pitch, obviously you're in an elevator, you're going up 5 floors, there's somebody important there, and they're like, hey, how you doing? My name is so-and-so. What are you going to say that's going to capture their interest enough to remain connected? But I'm going to tell you a couple quick anecdotes about this. Was at a conference, may have been at the same conference where I heard the person say, tell people your story. And Dr. Trisha Rose, hip hop scholar, educated professor, was at Princeton. I'm not sure which university she's teaching out of now, was a professor at now, but she was there, and her book, Black Noise, she's talking about that. And I was like, oh man, Trisha Rose, that's dope or whatever, and got in the book. And I was remembering that thing, tell somebody your story. And so I told her the quick synopsis. Yo, Dumi, right? Zimbabwe Legit, one of the first African hip hop groups to drop. And actually the whole story of how Zimbabwe Legit came to be is crazy. We didn't even really talk about that, but I was in Zimbabwe in high school, late 80s, wrote a letter to the Source magazine, Dave Funkenklein, also late, may he rest in peace, and said, yo, I'm in Zimbabwe, we're in a group and we're rapping. And this was during the Afrocentric era, so it had extra interest because he was like, oh, word? This is dope. He sent us records like Queen Latifah, the Jungle Brothers. He was working at Red Alert Productions with Jungle Brothers, Tribe Called Quest, and all of them. And he was like, yo, this is dope. Send me some stuff. Send him some stuff. So that was the first instance of tell somebody your story from afar, right? We were writing letters, putting a stamp on it, and mail it in. And we ended up with a record deal on Hollywood Basic. Like, that's crazy, right? High school kid in Zimbabwe told somebody his story. But I didn't even realize that's what I had done till I was at this conference and Trisha Rose was there and I told her that story. And it was like, oh, wow, that's cool or whatever. I think she gave me business card or whatever, exchanged info. And then I emailed her as I was, kind of like, hey, here's the stuff I was telling you that we did and what I'm all about. Here's the new stuff I'm working on and all of this stuff. And then we lost contact at some point, and weren't in touch any longer. But lo and behold, she dropped a book called The Hip Hop Wars. And I'm like, oh, Trisha Rose got a new book, Hip Hop Wars. I'm flipping through the book. And Dumi Right, Zimbabwe Legit is in the book.
Wow.
That information I shared with her, you know what I mean? Tell somebody your story. And there's a school of thought, you know what I mean? I'm not here to debate. People do whatever they want to do. There's a school of thought where they're like, don't tell nobody your plans, because they'll try to discourage you and sabotage you. I think the opposite. I'm like, when you tell people your plans, even if it's just like, yo, I'm going to start working out, you know what I mean? I'm going to start doing this. So I've got a goal to do this. It kind of holds you accountable because they're going to see you and be like, hey, how's that going? Oh, yeah, you said you were starting a new business. Oh, how's that coming along? And if you surround yourself with positive people and uplifting people, I think they will do that versus the people who are going to try to tear it down or sabotage or discourage you. Like, I think that's just a issue of not being around the right people. And so if you say, I'm dropping my album in November, in October, it's going to be like, yo, Dumi, you said you were dropping a new album. What it look like? Yo, Memphis, how's that new album coming? You know what I mean? In like a positive and inspirational way, kind of giving you like a positive push, right? And so I think when you tell people, so that's from a motivational standpoint, but from people that can help you, or people that are doing similar things that you might not even know. I mean, I connected with a brother. Shout out to Thomas DeBass. He does this thing called Pitch and Flow where he has MCs paired with sustainable entrepreneurs. It's like a whole other thing. We could do a whole show on that. But he and I were just at the soccer field with our kids playing soccer together, and we started just talking, and we were talking about music, and I said something about Nas, and he was like, oh yeah, Nas is dope. Oh, I didn't even know you were into hip hop. And just had this whole conversation, and I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm an MC, I rap. He's like, oh, you do? I was like, yeah, I got albums out. He's like, oh, word. And we just started talking, and then he was doing events and different initiatives, and he's like, yo, I need an MC, I need someone to rap, can you come through and do this? And we've just been building and scheming and plotting. But again, it was just me not keeping the covers on, keeping everything under wraps. Like, I just kind of like, shined some light on what I was doing, and we found there was common ground that, we were at a soccer field watching a kid's soccer game. It's not like we were at a club and like, oh yeah, this cat, a networking session. This cat might be doing something that I'm interested in. So yeah, definitely share what you got going on, and people be like, oh yeah, I know somebody that's doing this, and they're doing like a festival and they're looking for, or whatever it might be. Somebody has a business thing they're doing, or they might just support what you're doing too, and just be like, yo, keep me up when it drops, and I'll cop it. I'll tell some people about it.
Yeah, awesome, man. Dope, man. We want to get into the video, man. If you don't mind, I definitely want to play the inside outside video.
Yes,
man.
Indeed, featuring DMV, DC luminaries, the POMCs. These super dope brothers, man. They've been rocking and killing it for a long time, and they call the POMCs because they're poets and MCs. They've been on Def Poetry Jam, NFL Network, a million other things over the course of their careers, but super dope performers and lyricists and vocalists. So always fun to connect with them over this inside outside joint, produced by C-Doc, directed by Skype Williams. Shout out to Gadget. He cooked up the visuals for this thing.
All right, here we go. Inside Outside, debuting right here on the Memphis Jelks Show.
Yep, it just dropped.
Exclusive.
Here we go.
Welcome to Soul City. Whether you are inside or outside, we hope you enjoy your visit.
Whether we are inside, even if we're outside, wherever that we ride, you know that we worldwide. Whether we are inside, even if we're outside, wherever that we ride, you know that we worldwide. Whether we are inside, even if we're outside, wherever that we ride, you know that we worldwide. Whether we are inside, even if we're outside, wherever that we ride, you know that we worldwide. Inside, outside, all over the globe we reppin'. In the clutch, first touch, there ain't no second guessing, misdirection, so they not getting our location. No, our secret to success, how we stay standing like ovations. Higher elevation, so I got a good perspective. Cloaking device, stealth mode, moving undetected. You might not know me cause I'm fly under the radar. And outcasts, when they find out who we are, they be like unanimous, like Perry was a platypus. From Phineas to Ferb, you heard I am a strategist, out of this world's stratosphere. You know what really matters here? We'll be here forever, cause our words will never disappear. Adapt to the terrain, so no matter what the landscape, firm like a handshake, and I know just what it takes. Precision my vision, cause there really ain't no leeway. Gotta seize the moment, cause there ain't no instant replay.
The air quality index, the government syntax. We pay for their tough talk like rappers on dope tracks. Can't even take 2 steps without kicking fresh-ish. You're better off making some Jiffy Pop and relaxing. But the sitter they call back. The iris is shimmering like sniffed as the cognac. Man, numerically all 10s. Cause Shorty and her friends, they're double dutching in the mirror, checking the bounce and checking the counts. You better swivel and pivot, avoid the evil that men do. Recalling and reminiscing the digits you ran through. You really want outside? Cause I got the foresight. There's only Casamigos tragedy and a dead mic. The demic systemically expose the counterfeit. We should've hit reset, but y'all rather get literally insistent to go outside. Just call me Uber Black Girl, I got you.
Yo, I'm like Hiawatha, up in the ayahuasca, smidgen the waka flocka, marry the garka. Penalty box, the umpire ejected. 6 fouls, 2 texts, red card detected. Splenetic, hectic, very rarely corrected. Corroborate the alibis. As you'd have expected, I'm reliable. Most cats barely viable. Slander, reliable, never liable. It's undeniable. Insight, the insight. Inside, outside, with or without an invite. Party crashers, untighten the uptight. Turn your semi-formal to some form of a food fight. Night, flick at the back of my tail lights. Going home to raise more proteins than egg whites. Gon' happen, factually or hindsight. This the rapping they actually wish they wrote like.
Whether you are inside or outside, we hope you enjoy your visit.
Whether we are inside, even if we're outside, wherever that we ride, you know that we worldwide. Whether we are inside, even if we're outside, wherever that we ride, you know that we worldwide. Whether we are inside, even if we're outside, wherever that we ride, you know that we worldwide. Whether we are inside, even if we're outside, wherever that we ride, you know that we worldwide.
Man, that right there, man, had me rocking the whole way home today, man. I had to play that like 4 times on the way to the crib, man. I mean, the beat is super banging.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, I don't want this stream to end without asking you like about the jazz influence. You mentioned it slightly earlier, but there's a jazz influence in some of the tracks that are on your record, and that's one of them, man. So can you?
Yeah.
Do you have do you have like a background, like as far as like listening to jazz or anything like that, or like how do you?
I mean, my oldest brother. It's funny because as I'm saying, people who influenced me or collaborated with, a lot of them have passed on. So I want to pay respects to the fallen, and folks that have passed on. So my brother Mundla, Fu Manchu, as I was growing up, big jazz fan. He listened to all kinds of music. And like I said, he was a DJ, so he had all kinds of music, and he's the one who got me into music in the first place. But he was super into jazz. And I remember, it's funny, my brother and I, we were little, probably not even in high school, probably in elementary school or whatever. They'd call it primary school over there. We'd be hanging out in his room and he'd be playing jazz or whatever. And he'd be playing it. He'd be like, listen, listen. And like a horn would come in or something, or trumpet. He'd be like, did you hear that? It only came once. If you didn't listen, you missed it, you know? He had a super keen ear. But that kind of, I think, tuned my ear to kind of that. And then he also listened to, and the family listened to a lot of Afro jazz. So like the Hugh Masekela, like I mentioned. And then we also heard, and just in general in the country, Fela Kuti was super popular. And there's a lot of like horn sections and riffs and guitar riffs and different stuff. And so I think that kind of colored my lenses through which I take in music. And then of course, like, you know, that classic golden age hip hop, you had the echo horns and that kind of vibe. So I've always, you know, stepped into that kind of, you know, the people like the Quincy Joneses and the Herbie Hancock, like, you know, early jazz creations. So that's always been something. So when I hear something like that in a track, I think I'm naturally gravitate towards it. You know, the Ron Carter. And then my uncle used to listen to jazz as well. He was big into jazz and funk as well, funk and soul. So that's, I think, kind of influenced a lot of what the types of sounds that I gravitate to and that I like in the music.
Nice. I didn't ask you, do you produce? Do you
not so much on a regular basis. I have, and I found out spreading myself like way too thin because I was like working on beats, and I wasn't working on rhymes enough or writing enough or it's just like I was like, yo, how many things can I do? I'm like, yo, I'm the promoter, I'm the marketing special, I'm the graphic designer, I'm the executive producer, I'm the MC, I'm the promotion, tour agent. So yeah, for a while I had an ASR X. I was making beats and doing stuff, and I think that helped me too because I kind of knew what I'm looking for, more that way, and kind of understand your way around the studio. As you're working on something, you kind of know, like, oh yeah, this is how I want this to be, or this should be a drop, or this, this is, you know what you like and what you don't like. So I haven't been producing too much for a while, but definitely like orchestrate. Like I'm not the type of cat who's just like, yo, send me a beat and I'll spit over it, and then go ahead and mix it. Like I got some input, I got some thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, because that was my next question. Like when you request tracks, or like the type of producers that you vibe with, do you look for a certain sound, or do you talk to them and say, you know what, can you take like this certain type of jazz sound, and then I want it to sound like, like with a boom bap type of beat, or like do you help them like mold and craft the tracks that you're trying to do, or do you just like keep your ear and your eye open for that type of, or certain types of producers?
Yeah, or even certain types of tracks, because there's producers that have different styles, and I'll be like, yo, I like that. And the funny thing is, a lot of times they'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't think that was a joint people would like. I'll be, oh no, that's the one I want. Like that's that flavor.
Why is it always like that, man? Like I've dropped like, a few albums, and I would always pick certain numbers on the album that I think are gonna be the ones that everybody's gonna like, but it's never those.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I might say number 3, number 5, and they're gonna definitely love that number 8. And everywhere we go, people be like, number 2, man, that number 2, boy. I'm like, number 2. Why is it like that, Dumi, man? Like, it's like it seems like as an artist, it's never the records that we think are going to.
Right. Because people, you know what I mean? They listen to it, where they are. They feel it, how they feel it based on their influences. The best quote for that, man, is Ray Charles, where he's like, man, it's going to do what it's going to do. Like, you can't control where the audience is going to find it, how they're going to vibe to it. What's interesting to me too, though, is like the way people consume music, I also think influences it. Like, I feel like if you're listening to an album on earbuds, one, I think you're missing out, but that's cool. But there's a bunch of nuances and things that you might not hear, but there's also little intricacies that you probably do hear because you got the earbuds in. You throw something, my favorite place is in the car. Because like,
mine too.
if I'm driving and it's rocking, then I'm like, yo, I feel it, you know. And there've been joints that I listen to on earbuds, like it's all right, and then I put it in the car and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I see where it's coming from. And then if you can play it loud, like, you know, in a club or auditorium type setting, and it rocks, like, you know, and it makes a difference. You know, some joints, you know, it's all bass, no treble, and it sounds real good in the club. Like, listen to it on earbuds, and it's not the same. So yeah, I think it's just unpredictable because you never know where the user is at. So as an artist, you're one, you're partial to it too, because you've been listening to this joint, you've been writing to it, and so maybe you just got into that groove where you're like, yo, this is it. Somebody else is just hearing it for the first time, and they hear something else on your record that's like more appealing, or more in line with kind of what they vibe to. So yeah, you just never can really call it. I mean, some joints you're like, yo, this joint's gonna bang, like, you know, it's undeniable, but it's never guaranteed.
I love the fact that on your album you stand up for the fact that you can be yourself and still be popping and doing your thing and stuff. And I hear like several references that state that you don't have to follow the crowd, you don't have to follow the trend or what you think is like hot now. And that's something that, you know, for a while that I kind of struggled with, you know, because, you know, I as an artist, you know, locally coming from my area and everything, like at one point we took pride in how many records we sold. But then as I grew and I matured, I started realizing the actual power that was behind the music and the vision and the, you know, what, and the, you know, everything that we were doing. Like it was a move. I started noticing this is a movement. So do I want my movement? What do I want my movement to be remembered for? You know, I could go this way and talk shoot 'em up, bang bang, and all this, and I could sell a bunch of records. I could probably go platinum. But you know, would I be able to sleep at night? Or would I be able to go to the store without, you know, 15 dudes with guns with me looking around, you know, trying to make sure, you know, nobody's about to, you know, get their revenge on me about something I said on one of those records or something that I probably forgot about. But then I noticed that there's, man, you know, there's another way that you can use that same. One thing about it is the talent is the talent. The power is the power.
Yeah.
It's what do you want to do? What do you choose to do with the power is up to you. God gives you the power, but then he also gives you freedom of choice. But then I noticed that when I started using the power like more towards the light, that's when I started really popping off. Like my career started taking off and stuff. Before you know it, I'm all on Fox News every time I turn around. They're interviewing me for doing positive things in the community and creating the positive vibes for the youth. And I'm getting invited out to speak to the youth at youth programs and things of that nature. You know, people are coming up to me saying, "Man, yo, I love your music so much. You know, you're not cussing on it and stuff." You know what I'm saying? When
Right.
they just didn't hear the old stuff. But
You're like, that was on the other album.
yeah.
Yeah, appreciate the love.
But I love the fact that you're standing up for individuality. You're standing up for, yeah, you can everybody, you're saying we all do have that dark side, but you're choosing the light. And
Yeah.
that to me that's powerful, man. Like what is your thought process behind that? Because it seems like the industry rewards the dark more than they
Right.
reward the light. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that? Because to me, it takes courage to be able to do that, because we're going like the unpopular path
Yeah.
sometimes, and we're doing it intentionally. Like
Yeah.
it will be easy to go the dark way. So
Yeah.
what are your feelings on that, and why do you think it's important that you embrace the light and represent the light versus the dark.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I say it's not a song on the album, but I have a song where I say I don't make plans upon the sand because I go against the grain. You know, they say the foolish man built his house on the sand, and when the water came, his house washed away. So I don't make plans upon the sand because I go against the grains of sand. Um, I think just being, like you said, that individuality and being true to who you are, you know. There's a quote in a Bruce Lee movie, I forget which one it was, maybe Chinese Connection, where somebody's like, integrity is an expensive thing. What's the price of your integrity? What are you willing to pay? You know, and some cats are willing to, you know, the cost of their soul is not enough to sell what they have and do what they do to achieve success, and you know, make that, forge that deal with the devil. And again, free will, right? Everybody can do what they think makes sense to them. Another thing that I'll say, I have a song, the 10 rap commandments, and straight out the gate, rule number 1: be true to yourself, represent where you're from. Don't talk about a life if you don't live it, because it's gonna be real awkward when them real gangsters pay you a visit, like you were saying, you know. So I think you're best served by being who you are. I'm best served by being who I am, and just sticking with it. You know what I mean? Because I think the other thing that happens, and we've all seen this, you got your favorite MC, whatever, and they're like of a certain style, right? Like there may be like a gritty underground cat, and they try to do this pop crossover joint, and it just sounds bad, right? Like, I mean, you think about in the 80s, a lot of MCs tried to have this singing song on their album where they sing in, and, you know, whatever. And it just don't work. You know, the people who love that style, you know, if you try to make a Drake record, the people who love Drake won't love your record because it's not Drake. It's like a poor imitation of it. And the people who used to feel your underground or whatever style, your alternative vibe or like whatever, you know, unorthodox, will be like, word, what's he doing? And then you end up reaching nobody. You know what I mean? So I think it's just important to just stick to who you are, and be true to yourself. Like you said, how do you look yourself in the mirror? How do you feel good about what you did? Because then what about if you try to sell out and you don't make it, you know, or you sell out and you make it for a quick minute and then you fall off and the label drops you, because you know the industry is fickle, right? So that you're hot today and then tomorrow you're not hot any longer, and that style you were chasing after, you know, it's not taking you anywhere. And then what do? You know, you try to go back and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go back to the original sound. It's like, nah, man, people have moved on. So I think it's just, you know, having that integrity and figuring out who the real audience is. You know what I mean? Like understanding that a lot of the commercial cats have multi-million-dollar marketing budgets behind them. So whatever they do, it's going to blow, you know, it's going to pop off in a major way because they've got that backing, you know, like conglomerates, you know, corporations, you know, they've got this huge industry machine behind them. And so you're trying to do that exact type thing without the machine. And so it doesn't work quite as well, right? You know, because people around the way ain't believing those stories you're telling. They know who you are and what you do. And you know, or else like Outkast said, they know where you live and they know what you drive, and they say they're gonna put one in your helmet, you know. And so people just invite trouble, you know, like for what? Like, so I think it's just being who you are. At the end of the day, you know that you did you. You know what I mean? You represent it for who you are. You can walk away with integrity and, you know, your soul intact. You know, soul's not for purchase. Soul's not for sale. And you just do it, you know, for you, for your family, for your legacy, for the culture, for whatever your inspiration and motivation is. But if you just do it for the money, then that's it. That's all it'll ever be. And you notice the stuff that's timeless, you know, the Marvin Gayes of this world, the Bob Marleys of this world, the Sade's of this world, and music is real. You know what I mean? You listen to some old stuff that don't hold up, you know, and it's just like, yeah, because it had no substance. Like it was House of Cards is just bound to tumble. And you listen to some other stuff and you're like, yo, listen to Shalimar like a couple weeks ago, and that joint still bumps. It's still soulful. It's still feel it. Still evokes that same feeling and vibe that when you heard it, decades ago. And so it's trying to make music that'll last as well. That's super important too. I want joints that are timeless. Like you said, joints that could be in the Library of Congress because they're so iconic.
Well, you've done a really great job at that, man, with this new album, bro.
Appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. And that was the goal, Memphis Jelks said it, you know what I mean? So it's that's a success within itself, right? I connected with you on your show,
Speaking of connecting with me, we need to connect and do a record together. I produce too, so I can send
I'm
you
with
a few
it.
beats, man. And
I'm with it.
If you're feeling them, I'm gonna need you to extend what Chub Rock did for you, man, and make a couple of records with me.
Hey. That's what I asked, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like since somebody did it for me, I should do it for somebody else with the collaborations and with everything else. A lot of greats have shown me grace and confidence and support. And so I always try to do that. And we're talking about the cats spitting in the vernacular and doing damage in a native language or whatever. And I felt that too. Like, let me reach back to some cats that are up and coming, that are ill spitters, and get them on this record, and have them rock. And I remember Psychotech was like, yo, I remember when I first heard Zimbabwe Legit. It was an inspiration to me. And so it's so dope that we're collaborating. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, so yeah, for sure, man. Let's work on something. I know you got some heat because I've heard what you do. It's fresh and it's dope. And if people aren't up on it, if they're listening to the show, I'm sure they are. But any newcomers, if you don't know, now you know. Memphis Jelks got that heat.
Oh, so, thank you, man.
Yeah, let's collaborate on something. And I think the beautiful thing, this is one of the biggest reasons I think for collaboration. You bring disparate audiences together. So people who would listen to you and know your style, check in, and then people who know me and know my style, but might not have checked you or vice versa. They get, we get this whole cross-pollination thing happening, and people are like, oh, that's dope. I hadn't heard about, I'm going to check out this cat's other stuff. So yeah, let's definitely do it, man. I love to build. I love to collaborate and cook up some heat.
And it makes, it also opens up doors for each other. Like I've never been, to Virginia, but having a collaboration with you opens up the doors for me to be able to come to Virginia and rock out. And then you having a record with me opens up doors for you to be able to come to Memphis and rock out down here. So it not only does it open us up fan wise, but it opens up geographically. It opens us up geographically too.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great point.
Yeah, so we definitely got to do a part 2, man, because I ain't asked you all the questions that I wanted to ask you yet, man. Then you're of such sound mind, body, and soul to where I need to get more information and more insight from you, man. Like, you inspire me, bro.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. And like I was saying before the broadcast, I think before we said it before it started, man, big up to you for this platform, for learning, figuring stuff out. Like you said, Googling, figuring out how to get it done. It's a super dope platform, super dope setup. And I really dig the fact that I had the opportunity to come on here and share this, and I like the fact that the show is archived. People can go back and be like, oh, I missed the live stream, but let me see what those cats were talking about, what they were chopping it up about.
Yep. Thank you, bro. And I think it's really the old show. But he got me fooled. He got me thinking that it's my show.
Nah, it's your show. I'm just here along for the ride, man.
Nah, big shout out. Oh, thank y'all for holding it down. I know it's work. I know doing this, consistently, it takes work, and I know, like you said, this isn't the only thing you're doing. You know what I mean? And so
I'm
You're
making
artist
beats.
too. You're making beats. You performing.
I'm
Rocking crowds with Public Enemy. All of that. You're doing it in a major way.
I'm a cook for the family.
Word up.
I'm a floor vacuumer.
Yeah, wear many
A
hats.
dishwasher.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, but you're right though. Yeah. I'm just tripping. But yo, this is the part, man, where we gotta definitely, man, just go around the room. Everybody give your last, your final thoughts on tonight's episode. And I have to invite you back, man, for a part 2 and a part 3, and all that, man. Like anytime you want to come on this platform, this platform is FUBU. It's for us, by us.
Word up. Word up.
Yep. So we always let the guests go first. You just, what I'm saying? You can tell people where they can find you, where they can find the album, all that good stuff. And you can give shout outs, So it's
All
however
right.
you want, whatever your final thoughts are. Let's go.
All right. So Dumi Right, DUMIRIGHT on all social media. It's just Dumi Right. Instagram, I'm on there heavy. So find me there. I got my own .com, so you can go to Dumi Right, DUMIRIGHT.com, DumiRight.com. And then definitely go to the phmusic.bandcamp.com if you want to get the album. I have copies, limited edition copies of vinyl that I'm shipping straight from the crib. Once I'm done, you can get it from the manufacturer on demand. But doing that, so definitely check that out. Then you can get the album digitally. You can also get it on all the streaming platforms, whichever one you use, be it YouTube to Spotify, Apple Music. Obviously prefer if you cop it, if that's of interest to you, because that's better for the artist, better shake for the artist. So definitely check that out. Stay tuned to DumiRight.com for any upcoming shows, performances, workshops. Doing a workshop with the Fairfax County Libraries coming up end of this month. Songwriting, rap writing, School of Rap workshop. So definitely keep tabs on that and just keep checking. And then back in the fall, I'll be at GW teaching and leading the hip hop ensemble for the students, as we break it down and continue to teach and educate about hip hop culture, about emceeing and performing and controlling the stage, controlling the mic. Because to me, MC means move the crowd. So that's that. Definitely check out the new album, Forward to the Future. It's like the preface, like I'm telling you my perspective on what the future looks like. What does the future hold? Dumi? Listen to Forward to the Future, the album. Like again, on CD if you want it, vinyl, digital, however you want to get it. Definitely check for that. That's what's happening. And then you saw the video. Inside Outside is the single, and that's a new video featuring the Poe MCs that's out on YouTube. You can check it on the Channel Zero. So you can go check that out. And then lastly, check out, last but not least, check out the single that's just been serviced to radio, National College Radio. It's called Be Careful. Be Careful What You Ask For. And it's featuring Speech from Arrested Development, Elder Sensei from Artifacts, obviously, and YZ, and Nathaniel Starr on the hook. And one more again. But that song is out now. So if you got a mix show, if you're a DJ, if you spin, you got a playlist, add that joint up. Do me right, be careful. So a lot of things going on. I hit y'all with like 100 different things, but DUMIRIGHT, look it up, tap in.
Well, Dumi, man, appreciate you coming on the show tonight, man. It was a great show. Enjoyed you. Love what you're doing, man. I think one of the things that stood out to me, man, was be authentic and stay true to who you are, man. So much love and much success on your project now, man. And we look forward to part 2.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Y'all always want to make it hard on me, man, to close it out, man. all I gotta say is we're double kin now. I mean, we were already family through Spit Slam, and I tell everybody who come on the Memphis Jelks show, you're part of the family. So now we're double kin.
I like that.
Anytime you want to come on here and just, if you just want to hang out, it don't got to be about projects. It don't got to be about, nothing that we're promoting, or, sometimes you might want to just come, just hang out and chill and just talk, talk with us, or anything, man. Anytime you want to come on the show, you're welcome now, man, because now you're part of the family. I want to tell everybody, man, to go out there, man, and grab this album, man, and go stream the album right now. Run up the streams, buy the album, and it's on vinyl too, and you can order CDs. You probably can order limited edition tapes too. Knowing C-Doc,
Yeah.
there it is.
That's the
There
record.
it is.
That's the
vinyl.
record.
Hold on, hold it up, Dumi. Check that out, man. The vinyl.
Yeah.
That's
Artwork.
dope.
Oh, yeah, artwork.
And
Oh,
the other thing that's crazy is like, and you ain't gonna be able to see it on camera. We got the lyrics to every song on the insert, because you're like, yo, you can put the lyrics. So you got the secret code.
You can see it on the camera.
Yeah, I was like of two minds, because I'm like, yo, I'm giving out the secrets. I had to give them all the words to all the joints. But yeah, that's here. It's here. Go get it. Like I said, I'm shipping it from the crib too. So if you want me to pop it open and sign it or do something or whatever, if you just want the sealed, shrink wrap version, you can get that. But it's out. It's here, and would love your support on it. And it's everywhere. Wherever you get music at, it's gonna be there.
Awesome, man. Congratulations once again, man. You know how to reach me. We're going to set up a part 2, because like I said, I just got so many more. I didn't get a chance to pick your brain as much as I wanted to, but you know what I'm saying? You did a phenomenal job. Hey, we support you 1000% here at the Memphis Jelks Show. Everybody out there, thank y'all for watching, man. It's been fun. It's been a delight, but we got to go, because, hey, when we get to talking about this good music and this good, man, this good cooking that we be doing up in these kitchens, man, hey, we could do it all night, but now we gotta go. Peace, love, happiness. Let's go. Dumi Right album out now. Forward to the future. Let's go.
Squad up, haters down. If you ain't about that life, don't come around. Got the crowd,